Welcome to the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast for club owners, operators, and fitness professionals. Each week, host Bryan O'Rourke brings you an expert interview with a global influencer at the crossroads of fitness and technology. You gain the insights, tools, and inspiration you need to stay connected to the pulse for what matters most for your business in the age of exponential technologies.
Hello, listeners. I'm your host, Bryan O'Rourke, and welcome to our podcast number 143 with Hugo Braam, a co-founder of VirtuaGym, one of my favorite folks out in Europe. I look forward to you enjoying the interview with him. But before we get started with Hugo, please, if you're going to be in San Diego, please come by my talk Tuesday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We're going to be talking about what's next in the fitness industry, so I hope to see you there. Also being on the lookout for the Fitness Industry Innovation Awards from FITSE coming up in the next week and a half. And then we have our report, our global survey report, coming out soon. So that should be posting, any day now if it hadn't already. So please be on the lookout on that. And then finally, we have two webinars coming up. One on the future of content and another on artificial intelligence. So look for those things. If you haven't followed the Fitness Industry Technology Council or myself, Bryan K. O'Rourke, on LinkedIn, you'll see those links. And then I will see you all at FIBO as well. So I can't wait to be out there and say hello to everyone. So let's talk about Hugo Braam and his company, VirtuaGym. I've had the opportunity to visit them on a number of occasions and follow their company closely. Hugo and I had a great conversation about kind of the nexus of VirtuaGym, his thoughts about the future of healthcare, fitness, technology, a whole cadre of different subjects. So I hope you find this interview insightful and helpful. So without further ado, let's welcome Hugo. Well, hello, listeners. I have a chance today to have one of my favorite people in the industry space on, Hugo Braam. Good to see you, my friend. We were just chatting about the great event at Fit Nation that you put on a few months back. It's wonderful to see you this morning or this afternoon where you are in Amsterdam, right?
Yes, thank you, Bryan. Great to be on after. This is still one of my things on my bucket list. Be on Bryan's FITSE podcast. So today it's happening. Super excited.
I'm really thankful for you making time. And for those of you that don't know, VirtuaGym has been around for a while doing some pretty cool stuff. And I've had the chance to work with Hugo in the past and really love what his organization does. Hugo, could you share a little bit of the story behind what led you to start the company? What was it that motivated you, your brother, you, and others to get into this?
Yeah, that's well, at least I find it an interesting story because in a way we didn't really start with an idea, but just my brother and I we grew up together. We're 1.5 years apart. When we went to college, we separated. So he went to Amsterdam. I started studying in Utrecht. But whenever we were back together again, there was just this energy, this chemistry. And after we started working, we figured, wouldn't it be so cool if we could just spend time together and build a business? And since Paul has a background in IT, and I'm a bit of a creative idea guy, we thought that's pretty complementary. And at the same time, I was in my job as a lawyer, and I wasn't really happy with that. So in the end, that came together, and I just started pitching a ton of ideas to my brother Paul. And at some point, he said, "Yes, this is what I like." It was a completely different concept. It wasn't fitness technology though, so it allows me to be on the podcast even, I would say. But what we started doing in the end with VirtuaGym is really a lot different than the initial concept.
Yeah, but that's how it usually goes. You have an idea, then you get in the market and you start adjusting and figuring it out, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I think I always say you kind of need a bit of naivety as an entrepreneur to just dive in there. It's just like jumping off that cliff and build the airplane as you go. When we quit our jobs and started out, I somehow thought that within 2 years we'd be very successful. Boy, was I wrong. But yeah, I think you need that a bit, because if you're too smart about things, you probably never start because of all the legit risks you're seeing. So
Yeah, that's very, very legitimate what you're saying. So here's to the naive ones that do it without knowing.
Yeah.
So you've talked about this subject a lot in the past. We worked on a project together, talked about this. So tell me about fitness technology from your perspective as it relates to the healthcare system and that ecosystem, and accessibility and sustainability. What are your views on that dynamic that's been talked about a lot by a lot of people over the years?
Yeah, I think it's a broad question, of course, but I think overall, technology within the health and fitness space, I think we all agree that it can be a game changer, that it's being a game changer already. That is, it's turning several business concepts really upside down. But maybe more importantly, towards the future, I think it can really help kind of democratize health and well-being for everybody, where it's now in certain countries, and I would say especially in the US, a privilege to get access to a healthy lifestyle, healthy living, healthcare. Yeah, technology can be really a game changer there by making stuff more automated, more efficient, using artificial intelligence, etc. So yeah, for me it's one of the most exciting domains to be in, and hence I'm still, every day I get up so excited to work on VirtuaGym and what we're doing.
No, I agree with you, and especially in the U.S. Although, as you know, a lot of European countries like yours in the Netherlands, we're going through this kind of shift, right, where people are becoming CEOs of their own health, relying on technology, hopefully to make the journey of your health an easier, more fluid situation than what it has been in the past.
Yeah, and I think it's needed, right? Because I think it's justified to say that right now what we're doing, it's not working. I would say on the contrary, people are getting more overweight, more lifestyle related diseases. We're getting older in the West as well. That's not helping. So yeah, it's pretty much very necessary that technology is going to enable us to get better at being healthy. Yeah.
Yep. And as you know, when we talk about sustainability, the cost of delivery, because as you know, in the business, especially in the recent past, being in Europe and the energy crisis that has occurred in Europe in recent months, costs are going up. So when you're looking at any kind of business right now, particularly in our space, do you see technology as more and more an absolute, smart technology as an absolute must to having a sustainable fitness business because of things like cost? What are your thoughts on that?
I think so. I think in general, not just in the fitness industry, I think in general we have to realize that in a growing competitive environment, a growing global competitive environment as well. It's not as where it used to be. You'd live in a village and you'd have one bakery and one butcher, and so you basically have your stuff. Now we have like global supermarkets, or at least country national supermarkets. So the competition has been increasing, and with technology, this is just speeding up that process, improving customer experiences, improving operational processes, making that more efficient. I think here within Europe, the Basic Fit are a very good example of what they are, how they are using technology. Basic Fit, for people that don't know them, are the largest European gym chain with 2.5 million members from my heart at So they see themselves actually as a technology company. They are low staffed, highly technology driven, and they use stuff like AI to analyze camera images to see if somebody is having a heart attack, to activate alarms in the things like that, so you don't have to have people on the floor anymore, and they can serve 24 hours. So yeah, again, if of course there's always exceptions to the rules, I also believe in highly personalized, high touch concepts also in our industry. But I would say in general, even those experiences can be enhanced with technology. And if you have competitors who are doing these things and you're not, yeah, chances are you aren't able to price as competitively, you aren't able to provide as good services as they are, and then it's a matter of time before you're put out of business, I guess. So yeah, I think it's vital to really look around and be aware of how technology is already today making a big difference in how businesses are run in our industry.
Yes, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. We didn't talk about this question before the pod, but you and I are friends, so we can have this conversation. It's only you and I talking, right?
Yeah.
So with Alex Peacock, and then more recently with Mo from Sweatworks, and then others on the podcast, when it comes to this point that you're raising and we're talking about on technology being a key to a sustainable business, I know in the States, and I'm sure this applies to several European operators that I could think of offhand, we still have a number of very large operators utilizing 25-year-old platforms to operate their companies. And because of that, they can't deliver really good personalization. I mean, this legacy debt of the past, these legacy systems, when is that rubber going to hit the road? Because there's still the need for a lot of capital investment or changing modalities of operations for some significant operators in the global space, wouldn't you say?
Yes, and I of course it's always, I think with businesses, sometimes they just wait as long as the industry allows them to get away with not innovating, right?
Right.
With the most extreme examples of businesses that have been completely disrupted by digital first companies. We all know the blockbuster Netflix example. But yeah, so I think it's really about that you either be proactive about it, or you're just gonna wait till somebody comes in and is going to put you out of business. And I know as we're speaking, there's several, for example, European gym chains having their eyes or making their first steps into the US, because they're seeing that there's room to compete with some of the existing players out there. And I think that, yeah, also there, and it's the same with us. If you're leaving room for competition, they are going to come,
Yes.
right? So in that sense, it's about yeah, if you want to keep winning in a market, it means you have to sharpen your saw and always be on the edge. And if you sleep at some point, you're gonna be taken over. So
Yeah, that's right. And I don't know, listeners, some of the listeners might realize this. And again, it's not a judgment, it's just more of the opportunity that really exists out there, because there are a number, and the names, I'm not going to tell them. There are a number of sizable operators that are running their businesses like it's 1985. And I mean,
yeah,
that still exists. It's just shocking to
yeah.
me. And it shows you, to your point, the amount of opportunity that exists for operators to go into markets where you'd think there's too much competition, and there really isn't.
Yeah.
It's a very important point.
Yeah, and then on that note, Brian, I think in general, I mean, we've been doing this for a long time, and in all honesty, when we started out with VirtuaGym, I really thought that in the 15 years that we've been building our business, I have really thought that the way we'd be working out in the facilities would be completely different to what it was at that time, with just the strength machines and the treadmills and the bikes. In all honesty, it's painful to see how little actually has changed. And it's, for us, in all honesty, we've seen really great growth, but in our initial years, it's primarily also because we started adding these business critical, at the time considered business critical tools. I would say coaching technology is also business critical, but for them, like scheduling, member management, all these things integrated in one system, that really pushed most of the customers over. Well, everything beyond that was really seen as a nice to have.
Right.
And I do feel that everything happening around COVID, the rise of Peloton, it's been starting to wake up people, but it's been a trend that we've seen on the consumer side. This demand has been there. If you look at the rise of the health and fitness mobile apps and the revenue created by it, has been just a straight line up. This is not a trend that's been boosted by COVID. It's been going up since basically the launch of the app stores. So, but again, the B2B fitness industry, they have not been picking up as much. And in all honesty, it's because they've been getting away with it.
That's right. That's right. Oh, wait, look at the stats, right? In our own research, there are about 1.6 billion people on the planet using health apps or wearable ecosystems to help them with their health. According to IRSA and other international organizations, the number of members in commercial fitness facilities is not quite 200 million people. So to your point, already, a lot of those people that are doing bricks and mortar, they use these technologies too, but already digital is 8 times the size of the bricks and mortar space, and it's not going to go down, right?
Yeah. And I think, as you mentioned, this also underlines the huge opportunity that is there. I think this is definitely also a trend that we've been seeing, is just further segmentation of the fitness industry, because right now it's become like a conglomerate of all kinds of different services, either still very analog or enhanced with digital or digital only. And I expect that to be growing significantly over the, and there's a big opportunity. If you look at the penetration numbers, it is, as you say, right now our industry isn't reaching a quarter of the full potential. I think in the end, I mean, health and fitness and physical activity is important for everybody. So there is an opportunity to develop something for everybody with the support of technology. And so yeah, I'm even though I would say the last years have been a bit disappointing, I'm definitely positive for the future, as I'm seeing change. I'm seeing change in the attitude towards technology with business owners. So yeah, overall, I'm even though we're doing this quite a long time, it's just in a way feeling like it's just getting started. And as I said, that gets me still very much excited to work in this business.
No, I agree with you. I, as you know, I'm a big believer in what you're saying. I'm very optimistic about the future. There's so much opportunity, and like anything, right? It's very gradual, and then all of a sudden, that's how it works, right? It's like there's no such thing as an overnight success, right? It only looks that way from third parties that haven't really been watching it the whole time. It's like, oh wow, that happened overnight. It doesn't happen that way.
Yeah, and I think in that self-had that overnight, I think in a way, a company like Peloton came overnight for our industry. I think we're gonna have more Pelotons coming up in our industry. So which again is not a threat, but an opportunity, because there's gonna be something like a specific experience for everybody, I think. But yeah, if you look at, for example, the developments around Chat GPT, like a new technology which has been slumbering around, and then suddenly it is kind of brought in the world in an easy to use framework, and it really explodes, and I'm a bit scared even to kind of the extent of the impact is going to have on certain roles and jobs and people's ability to make a living out of certain all our developers are already using ChatGPT as kind of a base to figure out certain problems in coding, and we're also testing it out in marketing, and I think the options are endless, also within the fitness industry, but these type of revolutionary technologies, I think we're gonna see more and more in the upcoming years, also around AI applications in 3D graphics, or but also in coaching. So yeah, it's exciting, but at the same time also a bit scary how fast things can go.
Yes, no, you're so right. And then kind of part of this, I'd like us to touch on like one trend that's an example of something that's sneakily or not sneakily been catching up to us, is this whole dynamic of gamification as an example of an experience that people are going through in fitness and in other realms of the economy and services. As you know, we have our Apple Watches on, or our other Whoop devices, or we use our My Zones or whatever they are, and gamifying that experience. That's really been a very, well, you mentioned Peloton. Gamification is really becoming center of the plate almost when it comes to experience. What do you see happening in gamification? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I think gamification is stepping into the number one problem for our industry. We mentioned it before, people having really trouble to maintain healthy lifestyle, healthy living. Humans are programmed to be lazy. There's a benefit in saving calories and trying to gather as much food to get through the winter. So we're fighting our nature ongoing, and I think so that motivational aspect is in supporting people to build sustainable lifestyle change. I think that is key, and technology can be really extremely helpful, not just with gamification, but also just by providing personalization and supporting with right content, triggering. You probably know the book Hooked from Neil, all around creating triggers to a lot of us just forget that we wanted to work out. So just having simple triggers reminding us, and that's where technology can come in. The most powerful aspect, I think, where technology can be that game changer in health and fitness is gamification, because in the end, I think humans are, yes, we are lazy, but we're also looking for gratification, right? And that's that gratification element sometimes in psychology can be stronger than our wish to be lazy and not be active. And I think the best example is something that's nothing to do with technology, it's just sports, right? We all know, and when you're playing sports and you're throwing a ball or running behind a ball, you're not thinking about being active, and then after the 1.5 hours, you're completely destroyed, but you feel great, and but during the activity, you didn't really feel like you're doing the same activity as on a treadmill, right? Where you're constantly watching the time. No, it's a thing like being challenged, you're high-fiving with your buddies. It's a great experience, and we're all busy, so sports is often one of the first things that goes out of the window. It happened with me when I started going to university. I stopped playing football, or soccer as you call it in the US. But technology, I think, can really bring that sports element back into the fitness experience of people, making it social, making it challenging, making it rewarding. So, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff already on mobile, of course, that are happening there with tracking your activities, companies like Strava, etc. But I think at the same time, also new platforms such as virtual reality, augmented reality, I think those, especially augmented reality, if implemented well, that is going, I think, to be that great game changer in the way we're working out. And as such, if you're asking me, can technology pose a threat? I think in general, no. It's going to support everybody everywhere. With augmented reality, yeah, it's gonna. Basically, it can create any environment everywhere, right? So it's not necessarily have to be in your gym anymore. Still think that there's a value in having access to the right equipment, etc. But yeah, so no. Long story short, gamification is a big thing, and it's definitely also something that we've been really pushing on with VirtuaGym by using challenges for people to motivate. They can earn fit points, unlock badges by doing, for example, 50 or 100 or 1,000 push-ups, and it's tough. You read about this, right? I read about a lot around the psychology of it, and you implement it in the system, but then you think, well, it's a nice to have. People don't really care about it until things break down.
That's right. Then they
and the
race hell.
leaderboard is broken, and we are flooded with angry users saying, like, why isn't this working? I was supposed to be on number 3 of the, and somehow, so you see, it is a big thing for people, and not just for kids. We all like to play, and gamification with technology is allowing us just to enjoy the being active more, and helping us keep motivated.
Absolutely, absolutely, Hugo, and kind of foundationally to gamification being a feature, a component, is personalization in general. So, as you know, generically, the commercial space has approached historically and generally the idea of fitness being a one-size-fits-all, ripped abs, sexy-looking person that isn't necessarily the journey that most people, or many people, we should say, are really seeking. It can be intimidating. You're really not sure. And then you're really talking about, when you talk about gamification, right, is this ecosystem of experiences. Then you've got to have this personalization where the relevancy of the need that's being met, the job to be done, is felt by that customer, where their journey is really kind of customized to their needs, both known and not maybe known or understood, right? Tell us your views on personalization and hyper-personalization.
Yeah, I think in the end, personalization is all about creating product market fit, right? It's making sure you're building something, you're offering something to the end consumer that is appealing to them, that's fitting their needs, that's fixing their problems. And the example that you're giving about on our industry, you're absolutely right. And I think that's also historically been one of the challenges why we haven't seen extreme growth. It really, initially, when I started out, fitness was really a thing around. They had the association of bodybuilding and building big muscles. Well, we all know it's not about that. It's also about that, but it's also very much about staying healthy, making sure that your body keeps functional, that you can have a healthy, fulfilling life until a very high level of age. And I think that storytelling has changed, luckily. So I think right now we can say the fitness industry has become mainstream. It's serving elderly people and students and everything in between. So that's great. But at the same time, it comes at a cost, right? So if you want to serve the elderly, yeah, there's a big chance they're looking for different solutions and experiences compared to young people. And I think on the one hand, this means that you have to focus, you have to create a niche offering for specific target groups.
Mhm.
That's going to help you drive success, but this is not always possible, of course.
Right.
If you're in smaller towns, more rural areas, it's just not possible to create like this boutique for hip young people, because there's just not enough around to have a sustainable business model. And again, here I think technology can come in, allowing you to have this one size fits all facility, so to say, because you have the hammer strength equipment. Am I allowed to mention brands, Brian, by the
Oh
way?
yeah,
Or
of course. We don't. There's no rules here. You can say whatever you like.
you have, I'll mention, you have the Precor bikes, and you have the so you have that full gym with all these different offerings, functional training, etc. But then with using technology, you can really start funneling your clientele into the right direction, because you're knowing, okay, our elderly people, for them it's already intimidating enough to get to the gym. Doing functional training is a bit on the edge. It's a bit more risky and hard to learn. So we're gonna funnel them into a starting workout plan with their mobile app on simple machines, very straightforward, the circle experience, etc. And I think here again, technology can help you set that up without having to hire dedicated trainers to help to hold everybody's hand, right? Because in the ideal situation, you'd have trainers hold everybody's hand, also kind of assuming you have great trainers who know what your elderly target group want, and who know what, because yeah, I've seen that go wrong
Yes.
before, man. I literally had it that I was working out already for 10 years, and I came into a new Dutch chain, and I sat down with this trainer for an intake. He was making a plan for me. I was like, oh, I know what to do, but just make me a plan. Maybe I learned something. Oh, definitely I learned something. He gave me this training plan. It was written in Word with just some names of exercises I had never heard of. There was no way, kind of what I had no idea what I was supposed to do. And again, yeah, using technology, you can protocolize, make sure that you're giving each of these target groups this personalized experience at a high quality level, which is not dependent on the quality of individual staff members. As such, I think it can help you again, make you more successful, because you're catering to the specific needs of your varied demographic.
No, absolutely. I think to your point on personalization, probably one of the biggest opportunities again to grow and to build a sustainable business. And then, as you said, Hugo, understanding your niche and where you really want to focus in that regard is very important to know. And as you mentioned earlier in the podcast as well, which I'll touch on and have in my talk at Fit Nation, is you can't deny the demographic shifts that are happening in the Netherlands, in the United States, and all over the world, China more than anybody, actually, where, you know, health and wealth preservation are going to be the number 1 and 2 drivers of everything economic in the coming 25 years. It's just, and so I really believe, and I share your vision of this, that practical solutions that are personalized around people's real needs and health are going to be center of the plate for businesses in our space. I think you'd have to be very hard-headed not to see that as a big dynamic in up ahead.
Yeah, but again, let's make it happen, right? Yeah. Because I think we all agree it's important. But if you're looking at the market today, like how many businesses are actually doing this to the extent that they're really leveraging the technological opportunities to the max. I think there's still a lot of room for growth. And obviously we're very eager as a business to start supporting that in the market. Well,
you built a great engine that can help people do that. So you know, like you said, one thing to talk about the theory of it all. It's another thing to actually build the machine that does it, right?
Indeed.
That's the
But
hard part.
yeah. It's harder than I often talk with people saying, yeah, you just code that, right? And they just expect you to build that in a week. But yeah, sadly, it's a bit more challenging, especially when you have all these variables coming together in one system. The complexity kind of increases logarithm. How do you say it? Like exponentially. So
Absolutely. And so I want to ask you a little wisdom and advice for our listeners. And by the way, listeners, is usually in the show notes, we're going to have links to Hugo's LinkedIn profile, VirtuaGym. We're going to have the Fit Nation links, everything, so you can learn more about the events they put on and VirtuaGym and Hugo and his story. So please check the show notes out with the links. Hugo, you and your colleagues have built a great global business. You've done it over a number of years. And congratulations on your more recent round of financing and funding that you got. Congrats on that. What, being a leader, a founder of a company like VirtuaGym, what pearls of wisdom could you share? I know one will be patience, probably, given what you said, but what words of wisdom would you share with the audience about your journey and business in this industry?
Yeah, so I already mentioned that I think the importance of focus and really, I think with that comes really knowing your customer. Have we realized really learned this through practice, that listening to your customer can literally be the difference between life or death as a startup business. When we made our initial move into the B2B fitness domain, and we started out as a consumer solution at the time, we did so with a partner in the Netherlands, where we're originally from. And so they were selling our system and they were talking to the customers, and we were the ones building it. But what happened is that basically our solution wasn't good enough yet at that time, and we weren't hearing it because there was always this partner in between. And at some point, this partner said, Hugo, it's like pulling a dead horse. That's a Dutch saying. Long story short, they gave up. And that in the end turned out to be the thing that saved us, because at that moment I started calling with those customers directly, and I started learning what they didn't like about the system and what we needed to improve. And then if you keep doing that, you keep listening and you keep iterating, keep improving, at some point you're gonna have success. And that allowed us to at that time, the first year, we only had 10 customers. We sold 20, but we lost 10 in the same year. So we had 10 customers. The second year, by just listening and improving, we grew to 100, and the third year we grew to 1,000, right? So that can really become the game changer for it. And then secondly, yeah, that's my number one advice. You mentioned it, patience. I think it's perseverance. I think a life of entrepreneurship is not defined by how brilliant you are or your eye for opportunity. It's defined by your ability to take a beating. I mean, I could write a book. I could write a mini series, like a trilogy, about like all the setbacks we've had, and yes, it's about finding product market fit. That's been super tough, and a long, but overall also, life is just gonna be super hard, and the good thing is, you learn as an entrepreneur to deal with it. Right now, I notice it whenever something happens to people around me, and I'm very easy to kind of put it in perspective, because at some point, like with everything, if you do it a lot, and it's the same with dealing with setbacks, it's gonna be easier to handle, and you're gonna sleep better overnight, despite lately, of course, with Corona happening. That was a tough one.
Yeah.
If all your customers suddenly in full lockdown, we were supposed to get new round of funding or big bank loan, multi-million bank loan from the bank. We were already hiring people, and suddenly the bank says, "Hey, sorry guys, different world. It's not going to happen anymore." And then you have to shift gears. But I think that's also the great thing for me about entrepreneurship. You learn not to focus too much on all the shit that's happening, but you're always building that airplane as you're falling down another cliff, and that makes it in the end, I think, also so much fun to do.
Yeah, perseverance. That is a very important ingredient in success. It takes a lot longer than people think commonly, and in order to make it through that, you better have some intestinal fortitude, as a friend of mine used to say. Well, Hugo, you know I'm a big fan, and I'm really grateful for you making time for our audience to share your insights, your story. As I said before, I love your events that you've been putting on, and I know I'm going to be seeing you around the world in the coming weeks, both, of course, in Cologne. I don't know if you'll personally be making it out to San Diego, but if you do, for Ursa, I'll be sure to say hi to you. And I really want to thank you for all that you've done for the industry space and just your friendship and your perseverance.
Thanks so much, Bryan. And again, thanks for inviting me. This was one of my, it was one of the setbacks that I still wasn't on the podcast, but now you see perseverance.
Well, you're always invited. We'll have you back next year, and we can talk about what's happened since the last time we spoke, perhaps.
Sounds great. Sounds great.
Thank you, Hugo.
Thanks so much.
Hello, listeners. This is Bryan O'Rourke, and thanks so much for listening to the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast. The podcast is made possible by the Fitness Industry Technology Council, a consortium of global brands working together to enhance the adoption of technologies in the fitness space. Our company, Videri Ventures, which is invested in Vertimax, Montezuma, Gold's Gym, Houston, Texas, and Fitness 24/7 Thailand, also underwrites the podcast, along with our service companies, Integris Advisors, Moon Mission Media, and others. Please feel free to share this podcast with your colleagues. And if I can be of any assistance to you, don't hesitate to reach out, bryanko'rourke@gmail.com, or find me on any of the major social networks. Have a great day, and thanks for listening.